Hi, everybody.
Hello and welcome everyone. We have Mike Archer back for his lesson number 2 of his sales certification course. How you doing, Mike?
Hey guys, I had some technical glitches with my headphones, and Amanda was kind enough to get me straightened it out so you guys could actually hear me today. So let's get going. Those of you that were on last week, I asked you to read ahead to chapter 2 because we're going to do some stuff that is going to require some pausing, and hopefully we can keep that to a minimum. But today where we are on chapter 2, and in your manuals, hopefully you've downloaded them and printed them out, and we're on page 4. So Amanda, for those that are joining us for the first time, you want to walk them through where they can find all this stuff?
Of course. So you go to your back office, and then you're going to click Travel Cafe. Once you're in the Travel Cafe, you're going to click on the Trainings Hub, where you can find all your trainings. You want to get started right away, so we have it under Quick Start, and then it's Sales Certification Course with Mike Archer, and you click on that, and you can follow all the checklists for certification there. You can find Mike's emails, the PDF, the videos, everything you need to know about Mike's course.
All right, sweet. All right, so let's get going today. Like we keep pounding into you, but between Jose and myself, we hit the selling is a relationship business, and you can sell anything to anybody one time. But if you're going to establish yourself as an actual sales professional, you're going to live and die by the amount of repeat business that you can get, and also the amount of referral customers that you can gather from your repeat customers. That's how Archer Travel Service grew. That's how I grew my yearbook business. That's how the process of the selling of being a salesperson, that's how the process works, is growing your business through referrals and repeat customers. And that is all based on the relationships that you enjoy with them. That's why the first, this next 3 weeks, the next 2 weeks, has to do with what are we going to do? How do we establish those relationships? And it all has to do with, first of all, identifying behaviors. It's identifying how people like to be treated, how you like to be treated. And then once you're armed with that information, what do you do with it? So today we're going to talk about how you identify it. Next week, we're going to talk about what you do with it. And for those of you that do follow Jose's trainings, this goes along with his Wednesday trainings on the meet and greet and get to know the clients. So what I want to talk about first, come on, baby. Let's not go there first. So in lesson 2, I want you to go to the headline that says behavioral styles. And what we're talking about here is everybody has a certain way that they like to act, and they do that typically 70–80% of the time. And that's called our behavioral styles. And what we're going to do today is a styles identification sheet that was the very first one that was developed in the 70s. The reason I like this one so much is because it's simple. The ones that are out these days, they're really complex. They use a lot of college 25, 50-cent words that some of them I understand and some of them I don't. This is design. I am the classic proponent of the KISS principle. And so, and I'm constantly telling myself, keep it simple, stupid, because sometimes I do that. So this is a simple profile, and it's going to really help you a lot. So the behavioral styles in the first paragraph, what is our style? It's our minds, our intellects, our abilities, and our wills. That forms our nature. That's what we're born with. And then our surroundings. So this is the nature and nurture part that we all learned in science class. So our surroundings form our morals, our values, our ideas, our ideals, our attitudes. That's the nurture part. All of this combined comes to our behavior. This is our personality. Now, in order for me to understand you and understand how you operate, I have to climb inside your head. I don't know how to do that. But fortunately, what's inside of our heads manifests in how we show it to the outside world. And that's what we're going to walk through today. So there's a couple of guidelines that you have to go through that's really, really important. And I want you to pay attention to these 6 guidelines at the right-hand column, top of page 4. Okay. First, style is based upon behaviors that we can observe using verbal and nonverbal clues, and encompasses, it's only 2 things. Using these verbal and nonverbal clues, it's 2 things. It's what we say and it's what we do. And that's it. Don't read anything else into it. Number 2, and by the way, a lot of this stuff's going to be on the test, so make notes of this stuff. Style is non-judgmental. We are not allowed to make judgments about people. All we are allowed to do is to observe their behaviors. There is no good, there is no bad, there just is. Everybody has a style that is right for that person. And we can't judge somebody else's style. What we can do is we can watch them, observe them, and that gives us the clues as to how they like to be treated. And we're going to do that next week. It's not limiting. It's not putting people in boxes. It's just observing what they say and what they do. Your style is perfect for you, and it is not subject to change. Now, there's some exceptions to that, especially on what we do when we're under stress. And again, we're going to talk about that next week. Each style has its strengths, which are the seeds of its weakness. For example, I like to think of myself as a cooperative. I like to work in groups. Somebody who doesn't like to work in groups will perceive that as a weakness. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. And we have behaviors. We like our home-based style, but we have behaviors that are more typical of some of the other styles. We are not stuck in one style. We migrate back and forth, and we're going to walk through that. Okay. I want you to highlight this. This is a life skill as well as a sales skill. The stuff that you're learning here today, you can use with your kids, with your spouses, with your friends, with your bosses, pretty much anybody that you come in regular contact with. This will help you understand some of why and how they behave the way they do. All right. So I want you to go down underneath that where the sentence that says styles is first and foremost objective. You are keeping your judgmental, subjective opinions out of this. It is, what am I seeing and what am I hearing? And that's it. I want you to underline that because it's critical. Your goal is not to discover whether or not you like this person. Your goal is to find out, how can I treat this person, get on the same page with them so that they will listen to what I have to say regarding what it is that I want to sell to them. All right. This will make you a more effective communicator when you're talking with your people. So at the end, when we're all done with this lesson, what I'd like you to do is, now that we're on this page, what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to after we do this on yourselves, I'm going to have you do this on maybe your kids, your significant others, a boss, a friend, or somebody that you're having some issues with. That's a perfect one. Fill this out with what they're doing. Okay, so this is the blank form. All right, so this form is over on page 6, and I want you to turn to page 6. And there's some blank ones in the back, so don't worry about marking this one up. But I would make a copy of this. I'd make a bunch of copies of this and put the people's name on them. So here's what we're going to do. You've got column 1 and column 2, column 3 and column 4. So column 1 and column 2 have to do with your emotions. All right. Column 3 and column 4 have to do with your aggressiveness or your assertiveness. So the first thing I want you to do is this. And you can see, if you go back to and use page 5 as a model, what you're looking at is my behavioral profile. Okay. So here's how we're going to do this. Up at the top, I want you to imagine that you are in your own kitchen, you're in your house, and you're at a party, and you're listening to 5 of your clients, your business acquaintances, your friends, your family members, and they're talking about you. They're in the other room, so they don't know that you are listening, and they're using these words or these phrases to describe you, how you are most of the time. Now, what I mean by most of the time is, when they talk about you, are you one or the other of these things more than 50% of the time? And I'll give you some examples. You can see. So column 1 and column 2 go together. So if they're talking about you, do they see you as cool, or do they see you as warm personality? Do they see you as reserved, or do they see you as approachable? Do they see you down, or do they see you as cautious, or do they see you as impulsive? These columns, these words go hand in hand. So what you're going to do is, you're going to check one or the other of them. Don't leave any of these lines blank. When you're done, you should have, mine has 16 on it. I abbreviated it. Yours has 15, because with 16, you could end up with a 0, and we don't want that. So you should end up at the total number of checks. You should have 15 checks at the bottom. And then you're going to add the checks up from each column. And then you're going to subtract column 2 from column 1 to get a number. So you can see I have a negative number. That's okay. Don't worry about it. So what we're going to do right now is, Amanda, let's take a minute or a minute and a half. And I want all of you to fill out this form just on column 1 and column 2. Don't worry about the other 2 columns yet. And fill it out. And when you're all done, put a thumbs up or a smiley face or something in the chat box, so Amanda knows that you're finished. And I'll give you guys a minute and a half to do this. And when Amanda comes back on, we'll move to the next slide. Amanda, how we doing?
Perfect. It looks like we had a couple people complete it, and a couple people already completed this before the session as well, so they prepared.
Cool.
Great.
All right, so we're ready to move on?
Yes, I think we're ready to move on.
Okie doke. So now columns 3 and columns 4 have to do with your assertiveness or your aggressiveness. And again, you're going to do the same thing. People are talking about you. And again, you're going to fill it out, making sure that you have 15 of them checked. And then again, you're going to add them up and subtract 4 from 3 to come up with a number. And then we'll go from there, and we'll give you another minute and a half to do this.
Perfect. We have a few people already completed this.
Sweet. I love you guys.
They're fast, huh?
They are.
I think some people did it ahead of time though too, so
That was, yeah, because we asked them to next week.
yeah.
Okay, so we will move on. Those of you that haven't quite finished yet, you can come back to this. And by the way, if you're struggling with this when we're all done and you're not, and you don't really understand what's going on, take pictures of the charts and then send them over to me and I'll help you figure it out. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. All right, this is my profile that I took a couple of years ago. So I've got a -2 on emotions and a -1, and here's how we're going to use it. So on my -2, which is my emotions, I'm gonna come up and down this emotional scale. Okay, this emotions is the vertical scale. So I'm going to slide down and I'm going to find my -2, and I'm going to draw a line through that -2. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find my -1 on the assertiveness scale, and I'm going to find that, and it's right there. And I'm going to draw a line through my -1 line. Where those lines converge is your home-based style. So in my case, I am an amiable, and I'm pretty close to the line, which means I have characteristics from a lot of the other styles. So go ahead and do that. Let's take about 30 seconds. Again, find where your home-based style is, and then put a thumbs up or a smiley face and let me know when you're done. Shouldn't take you too long. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to these dotted lines and these arrows. The arrows here, the arrows here, 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 and here. All right. So what that means is, so for me, I have a lot of characteristics. I have a lot of what's called secondary characteristics from the driver style because I'm very close to that. And in fact, I am what's called a driving amiable. I have a lot of characteristics, especially when I'm in a situation like this, where I'm on a time crunch and I need to maintain control. I become very much a control person rather than the laid back amiable I am a lot of the time. So let's say if you have any numbers that are out past the 5s, then your influences are going to be either up and down or sideways. A lot of people that are here in the middle, you're going to go this way. All right. So that's all I wanted you to, but I want you to pay attention. This is what we mean by not putting people in boxes, because they have so many characteristics of the other styles. And this is critical, you are not static in that spot. For example, there are going to be times when you are less assertive. There are going to be times when you are more assertive. There's going to be times when you are less emotional, and there are going to be times when you are more emotional. And a lot of the time that happens when you are under stress. And we're going to talk about the stress aspects of it next week. So just know that when you are not static at any given point along these lines, and you'll start to understand that a little bit more. All right, so now that we have these styles, what does that style mean? So we've got amiables, analyticals, drivers, and expressives. So let's go into that. Amiables are the people pleasers. They're the guys that they like to work in groups. So when somebody says they're a people person, chances are you're talking to an amiable. They're well balanced as a rule. If you want to find out where the characteristics are, turn to page 10. All right, so that's where we are right now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is something that you guys can do on your own and do some more research. If you look at the bottom of page 10, there are 2 websites that you can go to that dig into this in depth, and the websites are based on this test comes from these websites. I've just pared it down because we don't have a lot of time to do it. Amiables are typically well-balanced people. They don't have a lot of highs. They don't have a lot of lows. They're very sympathetic. My daughter is a classic amiable, sometimes too much sympathy. They're diplomatic as a rule. They're not bulls in china shops where, they just say what's on their minds. They love to work in groups. They don't like conflict. Amiables absolutely hate conflict. And we're going to show you how you can deal with that in the next lesson. And they are slow decision making. So when they're thinking about doing something, their decisions are very slow. So if you've identified yourself as a driver or an expressive, this could cause you some frustration because you are fast decision makers. Analyticals. These are the bookkeepers, the forensic accountants, the lawyers. These are not the people person. All right. These are, for the most part, they're serious. They're very serious people. They're very purposeful. They get something in their head and they want to take care of it. They are self-disciplined, very self-disciplined. They're perfectionists. When you're making a sales presentation to an analytical, you don't put any frilly stuff in there. You keep it this like Joe Friday on Dragnet. It's just the facts, ma'am. That's what they're looking for. Those of you that watch The Accountant with Ben Affleck, I think that's who it was. He's the classic analytical. He's the extreme analytical. They are neat and tidy. You can identify an analytical when you walk into their office or their house. That's one of the clues do they have a nice, neat, tidy house almost to the point where it's sterile? Or is it, like some of us have our bedrooms, or our children's bedrooms? Or is your office, is your desk full of stuff? Or is it everything's got a nice, neat place for it where it's supposed to be? They're facts and data people, like I told you. And again, they are slow decision makers. So now the drivers, these are the dynamic people. These are the my way or the highway guys. And we've all met people like that. They're the ones that in any situation, they take control. They're visionaries. When you're talking to a driver, you don't want to bog them down with a lot of facts and data because they're visionaries. They're more global thinkers, and they like options. Okay, they're very determined. You know people like this. Again, they love their options. They will take risks. They love the control. And they are fast decision makers. So those of you who are left of the line, and so you're going to hear me talk a lot about left of the line right of the line or above the line, below the line. And what I'm referring to are the lines, those solid lines, the vertical one that shows where you are on the emotional scale, and the horizontal one that shows where you are on the assertiveness scale. So if I say this is a left of the line characteristic, you'll know I'm talking about analyticals and amiables, right of the line drivers and expressives. Above the line, the emotional part, above the line would be analyticals and drivers. Below the line would be amiables or expressives. So that's kind of a shorthand for this. And so you're going to hear me talk about that a lot. Expressives. These people, they're the ones that suck the air out of the room sometimes. They're outgoing. They love a party. They're not very time disciplined. They're very ambitious. They're charismatic. You know, they draw people to them. Very persuasive. They are a whole lot less time disciplined. And they love the recognition. That is the thing that drives them the most. And the final one is, again, they are fast decision makers. So if you took a look at the three Archer brothers, and those of you probably none of you have ever met my brother Steve. He's the middle one. Steve is the classic analytical. He runs all the books for the office. Ron is the classic expressive, and he has got the most visionary stuff, and he's one of the most charismatic guys in the world. And when they ran the travel service together, if it was up to Steve, Archer Travel Service would still be a little hole in the wall travel agency doing about $1 million a year. And if Ron was running the travel agency, they'd have 200 offices all over the country, and they'd all be growing broke. So between the two of them, the way I describe it is that Ron is the wind in the sails. If we're on a sailing ship, Ron is the wind in the sails. Steve is the hand on the tiller that directs where it goes. And between the two of them, they built a really, really good company after they bought it from mom and dad. I had nothing to do with Archer Travel Service. I was with them for 3 years. I wasn't very good at it. I went to my first love. But now that I'm retired and I get a chance to share my selling skills and my selling knowledge, that's my role with Archer Travel Service. So this is the 4 basic styles of what you're looking at. And I know a lot of you are looking at this screen and you're nodding your heads. Yes, I know somebody like that. Yep. All right. So now, one of the things we need to talk about, and this is going to be on the test, it's called style toxicities. So because I am a driving amiable, for me, what works for me sometimes causes me issues because for the most part, I'm kind of laid back and I'm a personable kind of guy. I have issues dealing with drivers because a lot of times I don't share a lot of characteristics with drivers. So style toxicity means if you are more likely to struggle with a particular style, what's it going to be? So because expressives are fast-paced and assertive and very emotional, probably they're going to have some issues selling to an analytical who is the exact opposite. Drivers get frustrated a lot with amiables because they're fast-paced, they want decisions made, and amiables like to take their time and think about things. So it's called style toxicities. And you're going to need to make a note of this somewhere because this is not in the manual. This is only on this video. So you need to make a note somewhere about style toxicities. And if you have any questions about it, or you might have run into that kind of a situation, give me a holler, give me a call, send me an email, and we can chat about it if you're comfortable. Okay, so now that we've identified those, what are the clues that we have? So in page 11, these are the style clues to look for. All right. And some of these I'm going to have you actually underline. So there are verbal clues. So across, you can see the characteristics across the top. And then you can see which style it is across down along the sides. So characteristics of an amiable, the voice, it's usually softer, slower, some animation, some inflection, and it's more formal. Well, you can tell because right now I'm very faster paced. I'm more over here. I'm louder, faster. I've got some good inflection. I've got some animation, and my speech is still a little bit more on the formal side. So that gives you an idea of how everything works together inside of you personally, and then how you can make it relate to somebody outside. So the nonverbal clues, you're going to want to take some time to study this. So the nonverbal clues, I want you to underline handshake. The handshake and the facial expression are the very first things that you are going to notice when you meet somebody for the first time. Now, I hammered on you about this last week. I'm going to hammer it on you again. This entire process does not work if you're only using the internet and Instagram and digital media to send out these forms for people to fill out. And if you do that, if you continue to do that, you're not going to be very successful in sales because there's a million other people doing that exact same thing. What is it that differentiates you from everybody else? It's this. It's getting to know your client on a personal level, finding out what they want, and then showing them why it's better to get it from you than from anybody else. Handshakes, okay? And this is critical, by the way, because I'm going to show you what different handshakes are. Firm and under. What that means is if you ever meet somebody for the first time and they come in and they turn their hand slightly, that's under. Under means abuse me, use me, I'm yours, you take charge because I don't really care. Analyticals is a less firm handshake, but it's close to the body. It's kind of in here. A driver is strong. That means they're coming here and it's over the top. So it's a strong handshake. So you've met vice grip people, and it's usually they're over the top like this. And the expressives are firm handshakes, and they will come out where analyticals are in here. Expressives are going to come out here. Handshakes are critical, wonderful people. Pay attention to them. Okay. Clothing, you can see the clothing. Facial expression, underline facial expression, because the face gives everything away. Are they animated? Are they monotonal? Or do they have a smile in their face, a smile on their voice? Pay attention to the facial expression. I want you to take a look at the smile. I want you to underline eye contact. Is it strong? Is it weak? Is it darting? Is it piercing? What kind of eye contact are you looking at? Highlight gestures. People who are typically outside of their shoulders with their arms and their gesturing, typically they are more assertive people. They are more right of the line. If they're inside here, more constrained, they're typically left of the line. And then posture. I want you to highlight posture, because all of those things you can notice immediately they give you some immediate clues as to you can't get them into a quadrant right away, but you can get them into a half. Can you get them into a more or less assertive half, or can you get them into a less or more emotional half? It's pretty easy to get them into a half. And then once you do that, narrowing it down to what particular style they are, it takes a little bit longer, but it's a lot easier to do if you're only dealing with 2 of them instead of 4 of them. So that's an easy way to watch how this works. All right. So the posturing, amiables are relaxed and more upright. Analyticals are. Have you ever met somebody who has a very stiff posture and a lot of the times they lean back? That indicates an analytical. Drivers are straight, they lean in. Expressives are relaxed and they lean in. So pay attention to these behavioral clues. Wow, we actually got through this quicker than I thought. So again, pay attention to this. your homework is to, after you've done this on yourself, is print out some copies and do some of these on 3 or 4 of the people that you know the best, and then have them do. If you want to really have fun, hand it to them and have them do it and see how close the two of you get. This is a lot of fun. And again, as I say, it's a life skill as well as a selling skill. So this is something that you can use from now till the cows come home. So if you have any questions or you have any doubts, you're not sure how to approach this, again, take a picture of the chart, send it to me with your question, and then we'll go over it together. You can see my phone and my email there, right there, and my cheesy mugshot smile. And that's it. Amanda, do we have any questions?
With regard to the handshake, when men shake a woman's hand, they typically offer a limp, less assertive handshake. How do you tell when shaking a man's hand?
Okay. Excellent. And I forgot to bring that up. Thank you for reminding me. There is something called a professional handshake. And the way you want to do it is you don't want to go over, you don't want to go under, you want to go straight in.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can. Okay. You want to go straight in with the thumb up, and you want to go web to web. So you want to get into that web, and you firmly grip. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. When I first started selling, that was a huge deal, because when you shook a woman's hand, you kind of grabbed it like this, and that was it. And women, what we found out was women hated that. So a lot of the women started getting a lot more aggressive as well. So the professional handshake, men to men, women to women, men to women, straight in, thumb up, grab into the web, firm handshake, 1, 2, 3 pumps maybe, and then back away. All right. That's the professional handshake. That's what you should engage with as much as you can.
Yeah.
And I'll illustrate a story like this. I met a school principal once who shook my hand like this. What I did, just to see what he would do, I took his hand, shook it, and turned it so he was underneath. It didn't take him 2 seconds to do this again. The handshake is critical, people, and it gives you a huge insight into how they like to be treated. So, okay, next.
Can I just comment on that? It was a woman who commented that, and I've had that experience too before, Mike. So most of the men here where I am in Idaho now, they shake my hand, and I think it's just because it's cowboys and stuff and farmers. They shake it very well, but not too hard. They know like I'm a woman, so they're not trying to squeeze it hard. But I have in business situations before, even a businessman or someone do a limp hand on me, and I'm just like, I can shake your hand too, like, and so I think she's saying, what does that mean for her as a woman if a man does a limp hand?
I get it. I'm sorry. Okay. A limp handshake indicates a non-assertive person.
Okay.
And as a rule, I would identify immediately somebody who's left of the line. And then after I talked with them, I would probably move that person into an analytical, because remember, analyticals don't care about relationships. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't shake a firm hand. Steve has a really great handshake, but a man coming into a woman, number one, he hasn't been trained properly, so he doesn't understand the relationship, and he's doing it. And it could be background. You might have somebody who was from the South or the deep South, and that's the way they've always done it. So you've got to make a judgment call there that you can only come to a conclusion after you spend some time with him. But as a general rule, if somebody does that, a weak handshake to a woman in today's times, I wouldn't read too much in it other than they're probably a not very assertive person. So that's a tough one, because you can only judge it when you're there at the time. But as a general rule, that's kind of how I would lean toward it. And that $1 will buy you a Coke.
Perfect. And you know what? Sorry, Mike, I got excited about that. So,
No,
you know
keep
what
going.
I've realized when I shake hands nowadays? If I always do firm eye contact, but that's just my personality. And so when I go in, I'm like, this is a handshake, like firm eye contact. Like, if you look down, they may seem that as more or less assertive, so they might not shake your hand as hard. So I would just make sure you have like eye contact when you're shaking their hand. And Mike went over that in the lesson. So, I mean, just something to think about if you're not having the eye
Yes.
contact.
There are three things that go together on the initial, when you first meet somebody for the first time, there are three things that are immediately apparent to you: the handshake, the facial expression, and the eye contact.
Mhm.
Those three things go together, and they're going to form your first judgments when you meet that person. There was a study done, I don't remember when or where, but there was a study done that within the first 30 seconds of meeting a person, we form somewhere between 15 and 20 judgments about them: their personalities, their income level, their educational level, their financial level. We form a whole bunch of those simply on the things that we've observed: handshake, facial expression, and eye contact.
Mhm.
So yes, you guys are all on the right path.
Perfect.
Any more questions?
No, I think that's it, Mike. That was some good questions today.
That was great questions.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, if you want to get a head start on next week, take a look at lesson 3. Now that we know what we're looking at, how do we deal with it? How do we modify? How do we take what we know and use it to extend the relationship to everybody's benefit? And that's going to be next week. So start on lesson 3 if you want to get ahead of the game. And I'll see everybody next week. Thanks for being here. See ya.